Welcome to the S&M Podcast with Sean Spencer and Misty Spencer. Real talk with real people, discussing some serious and not so serious hot topics. Let's talk. Hey everybody, it is S&M Podcast with Misty Spencer
and Sean Spencer.
Woot woot. And this is episode
Ocho.
Woo! I can't
We didn't
believe
even plan that.
we didn't. I'm excited though, because that means we've been doing this for 2 months now.
Yeah,
And
every week.
we committed to it. We're doing it. It doesn't matter if there's one person listening or 100 or 1,000. We want to thank everybody that has been listening and supporting us. Again, we can't say it enough. We're nothing without you guys. We're opening ourselves up to you so that we can help you in this world. So episode 8, we are actually getting ready to celebrate Mr. Spencer's birthday.
Who's that?
You.
Oh.
Mr. Sean Spencer. It's a big one. How you feeling?
40. Wow.
Ooh.
Just kidding. 50. Oh, my Lord.
Ooh. And a lot of our friends have already turned 50. And we know a lot of people who are approaching 50. We have a lot of friends that are in their 20s. We have friends up into their 80s and beyond. So for us, age is, it's a thing. Yeah. But how are you feeling it? Are you feeling 50?
My knees are feeling it.
Yeah. The physical changes are definitely there.
Absolutely. And recently I've lost about 25 pounds. And while my knees still don't feel better, everything else does. So, there's definitely ways you can speed up feeling old, and there's definitely ways you can speed up or slow down feeling old, I guess.
I agree with that. I live my life around wellness. I have since I was young in my teens, because I've always struggled with my weight. I've always struggled with image. I didn't really have an identity, all that stuff. But I thought I was doing really good. I'm 47. I'll be 48 in August. Yeah. And I thought I was doing all right with this age thing until
when?
And now I'm going to tell you the title of this episode. It is called Double Chins in Silicon Valley.
She came up with that one.
I did. I actually had planned out some of the episode stuff way back in the day. And it just so happened that Silicon Valley banks had an issue right around the time that we had decided it was time to do this episode. So here we go. Double chins. Where does this even begin? It starts with me opening up my computer or my phone and going on to Facebook, which is a landmine. It's like a mine zone, because you don't know what you're going to get when you open up social media.
That's a fact.
It is like playing roulette. You just don't even know what people have written that day. You don't know if the world's blown up. Things like that. It's a very unpredictable place to go. Does it feel that way for you sometimes?
No, I can pretty much predict it's going to be chaos every single morning I wake up.
Ooh, that is the truth. You can predict that. There'll be chaos, especially with the current affairs, which we don't need to get into current affairs. But what I do want to talk about is I opened the Facebook, and I was shown an ad for double chin correction, like correcting with a hammock, a face hammock, and the things that go around your ears and the whole thing. And I started going, well, geez, how does my double chin look? I have never really cared, I'm vain in some ways, but in other ways I'm aloof to vanity. Mm-hmm. I started paying attention to my double chin.
Why?
It got me.
Subject.
Oh, man. It started making me think about how I look. And I'm into all of that stuff.
It was the subject of the cream or the hammock?
It was really, I have to worry about that now. And of course it shows these women that are older and things that they have airbrush, that they have already removed that double chin using, Photoshop and other
Sure.
things. And it's not real.
No.
But then they show a woman that's 20 years younger in the same ad that doesn't have that issue yet. They haven't lost the collagens and the muscle tone and the things.
But they're the
And
models.
yeah. And they're the ones we're aspiring to be.
No.
I'm approaching 50, and I have to tell, I must tell the truth. I bought some chin stuff.
Did you?
Oh, I did.
Oh,
I did. Guess what? I've not opened
things
it.
I didn't know.
I did. It actually made me start thinking about every wrinkle on my face. Because once that ad popped up, and then I was like, well, geez, what could I do for this double chin?
And this is the disservice that society does to women. And they do it to men too, just differently. But that's pretty horrible.
It felt like I use insult and assault often now because it's how I describe how I feel best. I felt insulted, but it didn't make me go, no, thank you. It made me actually start looking at myself in more detail and judging myself. Now, this happened to me several months ago. And since then, I've been on this, okay, I'm going to try to remove my forehead wrinkle, which it's like, I don't even know how it got there. Do I lay on my face that way? Different things like that. I bought the little wrinkle remover stick-ons.
Stick-ons.
Yes. You know somebody that used tape.
Oh, yes.
To keep wrinkles away.
Oh, yeah.
And
it worked.
It was a thing that was done in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and probably before that in English days. Who knows? However, we don't realize that all of these ads for the wrinkle removers and the double chins, it promotes ageism.
It does.
It promotes not aging gracefully and us hurting ourselves instead of celebrating our age.
Yeah, I think there are, and it's not enough, but there are women, especially in prominent positions of entertainment. You've got your Jamie Lee Curtis's. And,
yes, my favorite. I love her.
And she's, just letting it define her.
And she's gorgeous. She's amazing.
She is.
Helen Mirren.
Oh.
Amazing. Meryl Streep. I could go on with all of the women and the men. The difference is that and there was a thing about this the other day, Andie MacDowell, who has been allowing herself to go gray. If you don't know who she is, she did a popular movie, Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And then she did Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. And she's just an beautiful, amazing woman who is allowing herself to go gray. And she's gotten so much flack for it. Well, she rebutted it with, well, do you talk to George Clooney this way? Because George Clooney's gone all gray. But men, they become the silver fox.
Yeah. Harrison Ford.
Yes, they become
Nobody calls him old and, well, maybe old, but not ugly or anything. He's actually revered as still being a sexy man of Hollywood.
Yes, so. and men coloring their hair and things like that, even though it's become more mainstream, I think there's more acceptance with how men age. I think there's more acceptance with a lot of things with men. But I know I'm wrong about a lot of that because there's a lot of discrimination against men too.
There is, but it's different.
Yeah,
it is different because society has painted this mural, that's two-sided. And on one side, you have the harsh realities of commercials and ads and advertisements predominantly for women's skincare and whatnot. You can really tell when you walk into a department store the size of the women's section for makeup and creams versus the male side.
Well, yeah, they have men lines.
They do, but it's in a small section of the store. And that's because society hasn't turned the screws to men, so to speak, as much as they have with women, and in saying, hey, you need to look a certain way or you're out.
Well, that's because we live in a patriarchy, and that's a whole nother podcast.
But that's also what society has
Yes.
been,
Yes.
supported by, is the patriarchy.
And women are, I know for the women I speak with, and I talk to a lot of women by the nature of what I do for a living. I coach and I do meditation and yoga, and I talk to men. And the garden variety woman feels insulted and assaulted at least 12 times in a normal day. That means 12 times in some way, either an ad or a person has made them feel like they are less than what they should be. What we should be. And it saddens me. And that brings us into Silicon Valley. Because I know people are wondering, what did double chins and Silicon Valley have to do with each other? And here's the link. Ageism. Silicon Valley is a youth-dominated culture and economy. And they don't open themselves up to older people, let's say over 40, especially in their 50s, even though they have the wisdom, the expertise, the experience, the ability to leverage that workplace and marketplace. They simply don't care. And it's an issue. And I love young people. I love this age group. And that's why I'm doing this piece, because I want to figure out a way that we break down some of these boundaries. We're watching a show called Shrinking.
Yeah.
That is doing just that.
Yeah.
You want to talk about what we saw last night?
Oof. That was all kinds of emotions.
Yes. So we're watching a show called Shrinking, and it has Jason Segel, Segal. If I said it wrong, I'm sorry. I always do.
And
Jason
Harrison
Segel
Ford.
and Harrison Ford, and they conquer ageism and how Parkinson's specifically is afflicting this person, and how they're still moving on. They're having sex. They're doing all the fun things that they did when they were younger.
Yep.
And they remark on it.
Big time.
They really push.
Without giving it away.
Yeah. They really highlight these issues. And for us, we have fought against it. We've always hung out in all the circles.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is going to change this is if we have a conversation about it with young people and bring this to the forefront.
Well, that's where it starts. You get to a certain point in age, you just kind of go, why fight that? Why fight this? It's hard enough to fight my knees and my hips and my graying hair, what's left of it. And they're just not, it's not that they don't care, it's just that they don't want to fight anymore. And so it is up to the younger generations to kind of turn that tide. And I actually read there was a 210-year study on ageism. And so they went back and they cataloged like 8 million words in documents, in stories, in newspapers, and they were able to compile that ageism goes back, not just decades, but hundreds and hundreds of years, and where the elderly were kind of revered for a time as these just monsters of wisdom and guidance, and they were the enlightened ones, and they were going to lead the younger groups to to their best.
In many cultures, that's true.
It is.
But in our culture, in American culture, we don't really experience that. I think we treat our older aged people, and my parents aren't alive anymore, so it's not something that I worry about, but we have others. And I can't imagine not worshiping them and putting them on a pedestal and taking care of them the rest of their lives.
Well,
America doesn't do that.
It's very true. We are definitely different than a lot of the countries. This 210-year research went all over the world. These are all corners of the world that they pulled documents and newspapers and all that stuff. So what they did find is that it is prevalent everywhere, but more in some places than others. And I think that a lot of this has to do with geography. You know, back hundreds and hundreds of years ago, we weren't spread out all over the country. There weren't 10 million big cities. You know, we were all, our families were all living in villages, and we were all together. We were watching the elderly. We were by them. We were at their sides from birth up until, you know, they died. And so I think what our society, American society, and there are exceptions, but as a whole, I think American society, because we're so spread out, and just modern day, we had to spread out. The population grows, we have to spread out. We're so detached from our elders that we don't see them every day anymore, and we don't appreciate the changes that they've made. We don't interact with them as much anymore. We don't call them as much. We don't text them as much.
That is so fair. I lived very close. I was really close to my dad's mother, my Grammy, also not with us, but I cherish this woman. Like, I just worshipped her since I was a little girl. And when I was a teenager, we lived on the same street. And so I saw my Grammy almost every day of my life. I either rode my bike down, or she'd drive her little, I believe it was an Oldsmobile. My aunt Bev will have to clarify that for me.
They're all Oldsmobiles.
But I remember getting in her car and we'd go bra shopping or something. She'd do those little things with me. But I worshiped her, and I loved, but I also volunteered in nursing homes when I was really young. I tell you all the time, I just eat older people up. I just think they're delicious, and I love when they share their stories. It's different when they tell you what to do than when they share who they are. Those are very different things. But when she had passed, because she was the most open person to me, I really didn't have anybody that shared with me the stories of their youth in my family to help usher that. But I had a lot of older friends, and I love listening to the stories of the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and where we came from and how society has changed. And now that I have friends that are in their 20s, you know who you are. Now that I have a lot of friends in that age group, and I'm old enough, I've said it before, to be their mommy. I'm not. I'm their friend. But they look to me for wisdom.
Sure.
And I go, oof.
You know why? Because they're not getting it from anyone else.
Perhaps. Many of them aren't.
And you know, it's a thing. A lot of times we don't listen to our parents. And much to our detriment, we should a lot, because they're the sole people, in most cases, the sole people that want you to do well in life. And so they're trying to give you a shortcut and not make the same mistakes and this, that, and the other. And I think, you know, a lot of humans, we don't learn unless we make mistakes. And
but I do see children naturally push parental units away.
Sure.
Unless it's like a befriending kind of issue, which isn't always healthy either. But I do see a lot of young people push their parents away. And it's just because you want to do it different or do it on your own or whatever your trauma is, whatever it is. But I do feel like we need to start talking about it. I want to know how to change it. And I want to know what we need to do. Is it just that we keep putting ourselves into communities or into places, something like Silicon Valley, where we say, hey guys, let's bring some of the over 40 crowd in there. Let's start opening that stuff up. They have some of the largest percentages of lawsuits and racism and ageism.
Sure.
It's astounding. And that isn't the only place that's happening.
Oh no, it's happening everywhere.
Exactly. It's just an example.
Interviewing for a job. It happens, when I can't even not think of an ageism issue. I actually I'm working with somebody. I also do life coaching, and divorce coaching. But I'm working.
Not ours.
I'm working with somebody who is experiencing ageism in a way in the dating realm, and the feeling is they're not thin enough, or it's a societal push, and it's an unhealthy one.
It is, and I think that's why if we start telling people our stories, how we're meeting young people, how we're understanding them and observing them instead of telling them what's wrong with them.
Yep.
I think that's where I have found some headway in that community, and starting to breach it a little bit is by not coming in as the wiser shaman. I know everything. I go into these places and communities. A lot of the networking I do are young right. people. And I feel the age. I see it. And I try to come in there willing to learn from them. I know I've learned a lot from my children, our children. And I think moving in that direction where we just continuously keep doing that and breach that wall. And as
there are other organizations fighting against ageism, the AARP, ironically. They
and that was a big surprise for you yesterday. Tell them the story.
I got the offer in the mail to join the AARP.
And our friend we just saw last week, he's turning 52 this year, and he announces at the table, he's like, I'm so excited I get to join AARP. And I was like, what? You're what? I thought that was older.
Discount card.
Yeah, I thought you had to be like 55 or 60.
Right.
But then again, how far off is 55 or 60? It's not far off. Yes, but if you live in the moment,
time slows down.
Time does slow down. We talked about that last night. Yeah. So I want to bring it back around. We're talking about the damage that society, we do it to ourselves with our advertising and our marketing. We do it in the workplace. We do it in the play places. And I've worked really hard to prove that my age is not an issue. I still kayak all the time. I hang out with little kids all the time, walking all the time, yoga, meditation. There's a lot of things you can do to slow down the aging process. And I think that's an important conversation. But when I got the face hammock in the mail, Amazon, of course. When I got the face hammock, tie it on
2 trees.
Actually, you tie it around your ear. You loop it around your ears, and you sleep that way with some weird gel. I'm sure it works just fine. I'm not saying it isn't a good product. And actually, these podcasts are where I see my double chin the most. I try to hide it with my hair. Let's be honest. I'll tell you all of my secrets.
You tie it around your ears?
Yeah, you tie it around your ears, and it hammocks your chin, and so it.
Then they're gonna be told, society's gonna tell them that their ears stick out too much. Right. Will Smith your ears.
What? Well, I love Will Smith's ears. Oh my gosh!
Don't slap me.
You just opened up Pandora's box. Do not go in there. I love.
They're cute.
And, he messed up. That's a whole nother podcast. Everyone messes up, but he's paying the price. Yeah. So it is the truth. It could distort another part of your body. Yeah. And so these things that we do, we go under the knife. We pay somebody money to cut us open, to repair things we don't like the way they look, because somebody else doesn't like the way they look.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying if it works for you, do what you need to do. We've never, ever said do what we do. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying think about it.
There are also historical moments where ageism is fought against. and where the society, and a lot of it's driven by Hollywood and TV and commercials and whatnot, and the companies that create the products. But there's a actual episode in Star Trek Generations where the foe feeds on a particular kind of food or mineral or something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but when they feed, their skin restores a little, but their aging is so fast, they actually use a machine to pull their entire skin back tight.
You mean plastic surgery? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, in essence.
Yeah.
But it was on a man. And women, but mostly men in the Star Trek episode.
Ironic.
And yes, and so
women historically get more face work done and body work, but let's stick to the face. More face work done than men do.
Right. But I think it's a great
gratuitously.
I think it's a great example of Star Trek, who's always gone against the grain and always more liberal than not. But them really showing what the world is moving toward and how it could end up,
and what we're struggling with,
and what we're willing to do to ourselves to maintain that youthful look.
Yeah, I was willing to spend $24 on a face hammock that hasn't come out of the box because for some reason I just can't bring myself to comply. I'm struggling with that compliance piece. I've never had plastic surgery. I thought about it when I was much younger. I was hit by the truck and I got just a little bit of money, but I had enough that I could get my boobs done. And I was like, if I get my boobs done, like how many times am I going to have to get my boobs done now? Because at the time I was 20 and I had yo-yo dieted. So heavier, thinner, and whatever. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do this to myself. I'm too young. Fast forward 30 years, and I'm like, oof, it's just, to me, it's too much of a risk because I love my life so much, and I have to learn to love myself the way I am now, without the face hammocks. Now, I'm not saying if that's what you need it. I'm just simply talking about myself and how I had no issues, not one. I didn't even think about it until the stupid ad on the Facebook. And then once I even thought about my chin, I got bombarded with every sort of advertisement that existed.
And we know you do too.
Yes, I got bombarded with every advertisement that made me feel like shit about my age, my body, my shape, my height, my hair, you name it. And it has been ongoing. Maybe I see them more. Maybe I didn't see it as much. Or I'm on social media more. I post a lot now for the business, which is effective and you have to. But I haven't been on social media as much in the past. Maybe that's it. I'm more aware of these things that are being thrown in our faces.
I think it's age.
Yeah.
I think it's just age.
It's age. Yeah. And I'm starting to love and learn how to love my age. I'm speaking at UCF on Saturday. And I'm speaking at a women's brunch. And I didn't really know which direction to go with this. And I'm speaking on emotional intelligence and my inner child and bringing her forward and who you've been and who you're going to be. And I started ending my speech, writing it and practicing it. And it ends with me saying, I look forward to meeting the 58-year-old me, the 68-year-old me, and what she's learned. I'm looking forward to that time in my life instead of trying to stop it and not learn and not get there. And so as we come to a close, Mr. Spencer, we want to say happy 50th birthday.
Oh, thanks.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. And Mr. Spencer, happy birthday. Because it's a big one. And you're aging gracefully.
Thank you.
Yes, and I know you're going through your own awakenings and enlightenment and self-work, and I can't wait to know the 60-year-old you and the 70-year-old you and the 80 and 90 and 100. So happy birthday, my friend.
Will you still be here for me?
I will always be here for you as your friend. Wow. Well, you never know. People are assholes sometimes. I don't know if you're going to stay with me forever and vice versa. We live in the moment a lot of times.
That's true.
We don't know when we're going to die.
That is a fact.
We don't know what's going to happen, so I don't worry about that. What I do is look forward to growth and opportunity and talking more about stuff that means stuff. So if there's anything that you guys want us to talk about, let us know. We're not going to plan out our next one. At least you're not going to know about it, but you'll find out. We'll announce it. We'll talk about our next episode number 9, and what we're doing next. 9 times.
Bueller.
9
Bueller.
times. I love that movie. He teaches me that life goes too fast. That quote from Ferris Bueller, pay attention because it's going to escape.
Pass you by.
Man, and does it ever. So pay attention, live in the moment, and really, really, really be kind to yourself, because nobody outside of your 4 walls, and maybe even in your 4 walls, is going to be kinder than you can be to yourself.
Very, very true.
Yes.
And be proud of your age. You've made it this far.
Yeah.
It means something. There's purpose. You have purpose.
Wear it like armor.
Absolutely.
Wear it. We've earned it. We haven't been through this for nothing. So high five, Mr. Spencer. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Boop, boop. And with that, have a great week, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. SNM Podcast.
Peace out.
Boop, boop, boop.